All the rolling go, where am I to go? Meet Johnny, where am I to go? For I'm a young and a sailor lad, and where am I to go?
Hello, and welcome to Where Am I to Go podcast. Today we're in Moriarty, New Mexico, which is about 30 miles east of Albuquerque. And we are at the Lewis Antique Toy and Auto Museum.
Lewis Antique Auto.
I got the Antique Auto and Toy Museum. Okay. I said it all backwards. I did that once before. And today we're speaking with Archie. He and his wife are the owners of the museum here. And we're going to talk to Archie about some of the things that he has, because he has quite the collection. It's an amazing collection. So when did you start collecting, Archie?
When I was 9 years old.
When you were 9 years old. And what was the first thing that you got?
Model T, 26.
1926 Model T.
Mm-hmm.
When were you born?
1936.
So it's just about your birth year.
Right.
Wow. Okay. And then you got it when you were 9 years old.
Right.
And it was running?
I drove it home.
You drove it home?
Yeah. The guy was using it to cut wood, so the motor and everything was running.
Okay.
It was a complete car, and he was running the belt off the wheel to run the saw.
And they did a lot of that back in the day with
Right.
those Model Ts, didn't they?
Right. They did a lot of it.
Yeah, there was a lot of different adaptions. I guess that they had tracks for if you lived in the snow, and they had
All right.
different farm implements and stuff you could run
Right.
off of them.
Yep, they sure did. A
So
lot of accessories.
So you just put a tire on it and drove it home?
Oh, the tire was okay. It had the belt on it.
Did you get the saw also?
Yes.
You did?
When I got in my town where I lived, a guy chased me down and I sold him the saw.
Did it pay for the car?
I only got $20 for the saw.
And how much was the car at the time?
$40.
$40. So you got half of it back.
I got half of it. I had $20 of my Model T.
Dang. I mean, times were different,
Yeah.
but $20 was probably quite a bit of money
yeah,
for a 9-year-old
probably
kid at the time.
Quite a bit, according to nowadays, yes.
Yeah.
A lot.
So how'd you earn the money? Paper routes or?
Yeah, I had the paper route for the Albuquerque Journal
Okay.
for Vaughn.
For
Made a little extra money.
Okay, and and Vaughn, we were talking about. I said that when we went through Vaughn, it looked like there was about 25 gas stations, and now there's only one.
Yeah, it's really bad, yeah.
Yeah, and what was Vaughn known for?
For railroad town.
Did they have a roundhouse and stuff
They had
there?
a roundhouse where they worked on steam engines.
Okay,
They had a big hotel there.
and how many people lived there then?
You know, I don't know how many people, but a bunch. They had built houses for them.
Okay. Yeah, that's just always been an amazing place. As I drive through there's probably, 200 people live there now?
There's not very many.
His dad had a gas station.
Oh, your dad had a gas station in Vaughn?
Garages and gas station, yeah.
Really? It's just such an interesting little town to go through. I'm always intrigued when I do. In fact, Linda and I drove through there last year, and I says, wait till you see this little town, because it looks like there was a gas station on every corner, and there's about 20 corners. And
They've tore about half of it down nowadays.
really,
Yeah, all the old buildings they demolished, you know.
huh? Interesting. So how many cars did you end up collecting while you were living in Vaughn?
I think I had about 30,
About 30.
all convertibles.
All convertibles?
Yes.
You mean like the Model T with the top that
No,
came
this
down,
is-
or?
Yeah, they had the convertible top. They were the later models in the 40s.
Okay.
Because it was, during the war, well, that was right before the war. There'd be an old car sitting out in back, their house. Being I was a paper boy, I could get in there and deal them out of it.
Oh. You had to deliver a lot of papers, though, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. See, there's two towns there. There's an East Vaughn and West Vaughn.
Okay.
And I had both towns with a paper route.
That's just amazing. I worked all summer long to buy a stinking bicycle, and here he's getting cars.
Yeah.
So were your mom and dad a little bit upset with you for having so many cars?
No, they didn't have, being we had a lot of land there at the garage, they never said much.
Well, and your dad having the garage had helped too, so you had access to tools and everything else to work on your cars.
I was mechanicing when I was 12.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
I could overhaul a flathead V8 or a 216 Chevy real easy. I knew them engines. Of course, they were popular then.
Right.
All the cars had mostly Chevrolets and Fords. So.
Right. Well, did you end up with a lot of... back in the day, there was a lot that had a lot of different car manufacturers, because you had Nash and you had Overland and
Packard and all
Packard,
kinds,
Franklin, and tons of different brands.
Yes.
And did you work on all of them?
Yes.
Were they all basically the same?
Similar, yeah.
Yeah.
Motor was a motor, no matter who made it, you know.
Not like nowadays where things
No,
are...
nowadays you got to be a genius to work on a car nowadays.
Or have a good computer.
All them electronics.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know the first thing on one of them. Now, Model T, I can do it. Anything on a Model T, I know what to do. But
Okay.
the modern cars, no way.
Well, you must know what to do with the 40s models and 50s models too, because
Right.
they're still basically the same.
They never change, yeah.
Yeah. Not until like late 70s, I think, is when things started getting kind of
Yeah,
crazy.
it started
with it.
changing. Really, when they quit making the flathead, they started a different engine, you know.
Okay.
Well, in 54, they come out with an overhead valve.
Okay. When did they quit making the flathead? 59?
53.
53.
I've been gathering junk ever since I can remember.
What word did you just use? Did you say you've been gathering junk?
Well, I'll change that junk to antique recyclables.
Okay. I like that much better. Linda keeps telling me I have too much junk, and I keep telling her I don't have any junk. I have stuff.
It's antique recyclables.
Antique recyclables. Okay, I like that correction. See, Linda, it's not junk. So, how many cars did you say you have here?
We got 800 outside and 40 inside.
Dang, that's quite the collection.
Might be 35. I haven't counted lately. So
Well, and you're 80...
86.
86. So you've got 76 years of 77
Right.
years of collecting. That's just unbelievable. And when did you move to this location?
20 years ago.
20 years
I
ago?
was in Albuquerque for 50-some years.
And you had this collection there also?
As soon as I got out of high school, I moved to Albuquerque.
Okay.
And I've had car collection ever since I got out of high school. I even had some when I was in high school.
Well, sounds like it.
I had 40 Mercuries and stuff like that already, sitting behind the garage at my dad's place.
So did you have a museum set up in Albuquerque also?
No.
You just had this...
It had a big shop.
It had to have been a big shop.
Yes.
And how many cars did you have when you were in Albuquerque?
Oh, probably 500 or so, I'd imagine. The yard was full, and then it was a mess because they put in zoning and started giving me all kinds of stuff.
Oh.
So I argued with them for 50 years.
Wow. Okay, so just so that I know the answer to this question, if you've got 500 cars and you're moving them 30 miles or 35 miles, along with all of these other antique recyclables, because cars is just one part of what
Right.
you've got here.
Right.
How long does it take to move that much
It took
stuff?
us 9 months.
Every day?
Every day. We look like a bunch of gypsies, if you know what I'm talking about.
Like the Beverly Hillbillies coming
Yeah,
across.
we were strung out along the road like old junk all over the place.
So was it just you and your wife that were moving
No,
everything?
a lot of friends helped.
Wow. That's just unbelievable.
I belonged to two or three car clubs, and some of those people would help out.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so now besides the cars in here, you have one heck of a collection of little metal toys, small metal cars, pedal cars,
Right.
bicycles. I've seen a couple of model airplanes, jukeboxes, pinball machines.
Right.
What am I missing?
Oh, I've got a junk room that I got all kinds of junk in.
No. Rephrase that again for us.
Well, I call it a junk room because it's got everything different.
Okay, so it's not antique recyclables?
Well, no, they're antique, all right, but they're not recyclables. They're too far gone.
They're too far gone. Okay. And what all do you have in those rooms?
You know, I half the time I forget. I've got all kinds of stuff.
Okay. That's just this is too interesting. This place is so cool.
She can take you in there and show you that. Show him in that room. My junk room. No, downstairs. Upstairs. That's full of toys up there.
All of that up there is full of toys?
Toys. Toy trucks on this end. Lionel trains on that end. Pedal cars on the other side. In the middle, I got antique airplanes, the models.
And you don't have those on display for the public?
There's not room in here. So.
Wow. So what did you do for a living?
Mechanic and welder.
Mechanic and welder. I've always been intrigued with what somebody did in order to acquire a collection like this. Because I'm assuming that you've had to buy it all.
It took some saving to do it.
Oh, I'll bet.
You don't just go out and buy it.
Right. And you've got some cars in here that are really worth quite a bit of money.
Yeah, but I bought them back when they were cheap.
Okay. Because I was going to say,
over
like
the years, they increased in value.
Like the 55 through 57 T-Birds, you've got 3 of them in here.
Back when I bought them, it was $2,000 a piece, something like that.
Really?
Now they're up higher, you know.
$50,000, $60,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just look, I got the right ones that went up.
That's
some of them didn't do it.
Huh. Yeah, you've got some really neat cars in here, besides the old Model Ts.
Yeah, I call that room my junk room.
Okay.
It's got a lot of antique stuff in it.
So do you collect mostly
I'm mostly into Ford car parts.
Okay.
I collected more Ford than anything else.
Okay.
What I did when I was a kid, I would go around to the dealerships, and they always had shelves back there that the parts they didn't sell.
Okay.
And I would buy those leftover parts and store them. I did it for years.
Do you resell those parts?
I used to. I used to have a shop, and I used them.
Okay.
In my cars, mostly.
Right.
I've restored a lot of cars over the years. I built a museum for a guy here in Albuquerque. He has about 80 cars in there at that time when he died, and then they sold everything off, you know.
Okay. Was that one in Rio Rancho?
Yes.
Okay. I was looking at that on the internet, and it said that it was open, then it said it was closed, and I didn't know what.
No, they closed it when he died.
Okay.
It was a beautiful museum. Like I say, I built the building. I worked for the fella. He was a contractor.
Okay.
I went out there to Rio Rancho just to red iron up. I finished up the building and put all the cars in there and restored a bunch of them.
Wow.
And he was into the Great Race.
Oh, okay.
He was part owner in the Great Race.
Oh, was he?
And I built him 15 cars to run on the race.
Okay, now the Great Race, for anybody that doesn't know, is a car race that, what is it,
Coast to coast.
It's coast to coast, and it's
well, they've raised the age, so I don't know.
Okay.
It's up into the 50s, I think, now.
Is it up into the 50s? Yeah. And they go coast to coast on a big race, and they do this every year.
It's on time basis.
Okay.
Not speed, time.
On time. Okay. And they have, I'm sure they have different classes for the 1900s.
Oh yeah, they're different years, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they get some real old ones on that race.
And do they do the same route every year?
No.
They change it up.
They change it every year. They change the route.
Okay. And he was one of the founders on that.
Well, yes, he was one of them.
Wow. That's pretty cool. And you said that you've done a couple of, or a few of your cars have been in different movies?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
I got a brass Model T that's been in there several times. I've been in them sedans and Model T sedans. been in the movies. The lady that I remember hauling and I will remember forever is Tina Louise.
Oh, Gilligan's Island.
Gilligan Island, the redhead.
Ginger, yeah.
We did a movie and they held the grand opening in Albuquerque.
Okay.
And I hauled her down the street as a grand marshal.
Oh, really? In a
I'll
Model
remember
T?
from now on.
In a Model T?
Yes.
Wow.
Or I hauled George Kennedy. I used to haul all the mayors and the governors
Okay.
when they'd have some kind of parade or something, or the state fair parade. Used to do a lot of hauling with the queens and junk.
And after you hauled the mayor, he'd give you crap about having too many cars.
No, not the mayor.
Oh,
The county was giving me trouble.
okay. Huh. So you didn't give the county commissioners rides like you should have.
I said bad words. I told him bad words.
Uh-oh.
And I mean, I did too. I ain't kidding.
I'll have to tell you a story that I heard about some county giving a guy some problems when we're done with this.
They do it all the time.
Yeah.
You know, they never give us no trouble in Rio Rancho.
Huh.
Never did give no trouble.
And they don't give you any trouble here.
Well, they did if I hadn't called it a museum.
Oh, really?
Museum kind of makes a difference.
Oh.
But they're giving people around the county trouble on old cars. They just hired a new inspector, so it's going to get rougher.
Huh. That's not good.
No.
So, were there other famous people that you hauled, or
Well, one day I was working in my shop. It's got to be 30 years ago now. I was working there, and two guys come in. I didn't pay attention to who they was. Says, "Can we look at your cars?" I said, "Yeah, you can look at them." So they went and looked at them. Come back to my desk, and this one guy says, "I'm going to give you something, and you hang on to it." I said, "Okay." So I'm sitting there. He brings back a patch that goes on your shirt or your
Right.
coat. He says, "Hang on to it. It's been to the moon."
what?
And I don't know what astronaut it was. I'm sure he's dead now, you know.
But of course, you're still hanging on to it.
Oh, yeah, I
It
got
doesn't look
but-
like you've ever let loose of
But
anything.
it's just a piece of paper now. I mean, a piece of cloth. Because there's no value. I didn't get a signature in a picture. And I was lucky. I don't know if you've ever heard of Raymond Dietrich.
No, I haven't.
He built Packard bodies.
Okay.
He was old enough that he worked for Henry Ford, Walter Chrysler, Oldsmobile, and I sat down and I talked to that man for quite a while. I asked him about Henry Ford, 'cause he knew him personally. I know Walter Chrysler, Oldsmobile. He knew all those guys.
Wow.
If you see a Raymond Dietrich Packard, if it's got one of his bodies, worth a fortune. But I was lucky to see that man, you know. And I was working on, at the time he would come to my shop, I was working on a 33 Chrysler dual cowl Phaeton.
Okay.
And I was going to put doors for the back seat, them little vent doors.
Uh-huh.
And he was going to come back and show me how to do it without messing up the paint. But the next week he had a heart attack and that was it.
Oh, no.
His son used to live in Los Lunas. I don't know if he does or not.
Huh. So
Well,
you
so
never did
I-
get to figure out how to do that.
No, never did. I was sure looking forward to it.
Oh, I'll bet.
But it was interesting. I should have recorded it. A man that actually talked to Henry Ford, Oldsmobile, and Chrysler.
That's just amazing.
I didn't realize how lucky I was to talk to them, you know.
Yeah. And the information you could have gotten. I mean, especially for a car guy to be able
Right.
to talk to somebody like that.
Then when I was a kid, when they were getting the bomb ready to set it off, I was down there. And there was no kids there. We got stuck in there by accident
Where was that?
at White Sands.
At White Sands? What do you mean you got stuck in there by accident?
My dad was working on building the road from the railroad to the tower.
Okay.
And he broke down and needed some parts, so we brought him some parts. He told us the back way in. We went in the back way. Well, then the MPs caught us. They wouldn't let us out.
Oh,
I was
no.
there 2 days before they set it off.
Really? And were you there when it went off?
I even talked to, when I was a kid, I talked to Oppenheimer.
Oh, really?
He's the one that built the bomb.
Right. And were you? Did you get to see the bomb go off?
No. They kicked us out.
Well, that's a heck of a deal. They hang on to you for 2 days and then
But
kick
you
you
know,
out
here
before the
now I
excitement.
heard they give all those people downwind
Uh-huh.
from like Karazosan in there. Here the other day they give everybody 125,000 because he's coming down with lung cancer.
Oh, jeez.
Of course, they're all dead now. I mean, look at my age. And
Right.
I was just a kid then.
Yeah. Wow, that's an amazing story.
But I used to do prospecting. Been all over the Arizona desert.
Oh, yeah?
Been on Superstitious Mountain. Looking for the Lost Dutchman mine.
Did you find it?
I wouldn't be here if I'd be a rich guy.
Yeah. that'd be a fun one to find. So.
You know, though, we did find something, but when I had a service station in Gila Bend for a couple of years.
Okay.
And I used to go prospecting on the weekends.
Okay.
And we come down a ravine off of one of them mountains. And I looked up there, and there was something buried in the bank, on the banks of the stream.
Right.
So I looked up there, and there was sacks buried, and they said Wells Fargo on them. I told my girlfriend, I says, "You remember this ravine?" I says, "I won't remember." And we couldn't find it again. Somebody had buried something with Wells Fargo on it.
You didn't go unbury it immediately?
No, we were stuck in there, and we was trying to get back to Gila Bend to get us pulled out. We were stuck. If you've ever been to Gila Bend, the heat's about 120.
Nope, I haven't been there.
120 degrees.
Wow. And you couldn't find it again?
I looked and I looked and I looked and I couldn't find it. All them ravines look the same. They look identical. You can't tell one from the other.
Wow. Okay, now when we were looking at your cars, you had a black car over here that you said belonged to somebody rather
Belonged to
famous.
Spanky, the Little Rascals.
And how did you get that car?
I got to know him about 60 years ago, and when he got ready to get with the car, he told me he'd let me have it. So when he got ready to die, he was 94 years old. He called me and said, "I'm going to sell you my car, Archie." I said, "No, you're going to will it to me." "No, I ain't. I'm going to sell it to you." So I said, "Here's a blank check. You fill it out. If I like the price, I'll sign it." So I liked the price and I signed it.
Okay.
And I made more enemies in Albuquerque because everybody wanted that car. But they didn't know that it belonged to Spanky.
Oh.
He kept it quiet
Well, then why did everybody want it?
because it's an original car. It's
Oh,
never
okay.
been restored.
Okay. And they didn't know it belonged to Spanky.
They didn't know he was Spanky that I know of.
Oh, that's it. Because he was a little kid when he was in the Little
Right.
Rascals.
Right.
And then he grew up and they didn't know that
Moved to Albuquerque and became an oil surgeon. He was there for years and years.
he became an oral surgeon?
Right. One of the best in the country.
Really? History that I had no idea of. I just liked watching him on the movies.
Well, he became an oil surgeon in Albuquerque.
Okay. And he didn't go by Spanky anymore.
Oh, no, he didn't want nobody knowing it. I don't know why he didn't. He told me you'd better never tell. So I never did. But when he died, I'd tell everybody.
He can't come back on you now, can he?
No, I followed a lot of people in that Model T. And then they did the the history of the United States. They used that car for Henry Ford Park.
Oh, really?
And we did it down at White Sands.
Okay.
But Alistair Cook didn't know how to drive it. So I had to dress up like him and drive the car, and they took pictures, and then I would come back and get out, and he'd get in.
Well, we were talking to Mr. Cloud over at the Cloud Museum in Bard, California. It's a podcast that we did just a few before here. He has over 200 Model Ts, and I was talking to him about driving it, and he was trying to explain to me that you've got the 3 pedals, all the way down is forward, all the way back is reverse, and halfway in between is neutral, and you work your feet to get it to go.
Right, it's an automatic transmission.
That's interesting, yeah.
It's an automatic.
An automatic.
You're instead of all pushing the bands, you're pushing it with your foot.
Right.
Same thing as an automatic transmission.
And then it took them how many more years to develop the automatic transmission?
I don't know which one came out for, either Ford or Chevy in the 49 or 50.
Right.
They called it a Power Glide, and they called the other one Ford-O-Matic.
I was going to say the Power Glide was just a 2-speed automatic,
Yeah,
too.
so was the Ford.
And the Ford was also? Yeah. Okay. Well, you have any other stories to tell us?
Well, I was going to write a list down, and I forgot to write the list. Yes, I did a lot of stuff.
It sounds like, well,
Everybody tells me I better write a book.
and you haven't got it done yet.
Did you know I knew one of the guys that put the flag on Iwo Jima?
Nope. I didn't know that one either.
The Indian guy.
He was from New Mexico?
He was from Arizona.
Oh, okay.
Gila Bend.
Okay.
And I had a service station there, and I got to know him then.
Wow.
What was his name? What was the guy, the Indian's name that lifted the flag? I've told you, I don't remember. That's the trouble when you get old, you get absent-minded.
You got to wait till you get old?
Ira Hayes.
Ira Hayes.
Ira Hayes. Okay.
Have you ever heard that name?
I have heard that name.
He was the only Indian that helped raise the flag on Iwo Jima.
Wow. And you knew him.
I knew him.
That is,
He used to-
you've known way too many people.
He come in my service station there and bought gas.
Huh.
Who else? I know a lot of famous people, but I didn't make a list.
Well, you need to sit down.
And I did it because I fool with antique cars,
Right.
and evidently some of them liked antique cars.
Have you ever met Jay Leno?
No, but he was supposed to come here and he didn't do it.
Uh-oh.
You know, Disney wanted to come here the other day, and I told them no,
How come?
because I don't mess with them.
Okay. How come you're messing with me?
You ain't got a big crew and all that stuff. Want to move things around.
I just want to talk.
You know who else wanted to come? The Pickers.
Oh.
I don't like them to start with, so I told them no.
Well, and that's, we're kind of the same in a way. I could be doing all of this in video,
Right.
but I choose to do audio because I think when people show up with all their cameras and they show everything that you've got, there's no reason for anybody to come.
Right.
Once you've already seen it all. And so I like to describe it and talk to people about it and then get people interested in coming and seeing what you've got, because this is an unbelievable collection.
You know that my place is all over the world
As far as...
as publicity.
right.
They did an article on Route 66 and sent it all over the world.
And you're on Route 66, of course, because between Amarillo and Albuquerque is following the old
punch
Route
in
66.
the internet, Moriarty, New Mexico, a Louis Antique comes up.
Yeah, oh, that's how I found you.
Right.
Yeah. That's, yeah.
Yeah, I was lucky for some reason. Here the other day, this guy come in here, and he called himself, who's made the fancy Mustang?
Shelby.
He come in, he was Shelby's son.
Really?
I talked to him a little bit.
Huh. Wouldn't you like to have a Shelby?
I don't have no Shelby. But he said that his dad put those cars at a museum in Vegas, and he willed the money to take care of them.
Uh-huh.
So I guess they got away from the family. I don't know. He
Huh.
said he had a brother and a sister.
Okay. I've seen several Shelbys in different car museums.
Right.
The little Cobras and some of that.
He told me he gets a royalty off of anything that's got Shelby written on it and they sell it.
Oh, really? That'd be kind of nice.
That's what he told me.
Because I think even some of the new Mustangs have Shelby written on them.
But he beat me on a deal out here and I didn't know it was there.
Uh-oh.
I don't know how he found out about it.
How did he beat you?
There was a guy over here had a collection of Cushman engines.
Okay.
Now the old style engines, them hit and miss, if you know what I'm
Yeah,
talking
I know
about.
what you're talking about. Yeah, we
The
did a
guy
podcast
had a
about
collection of hit and miss engines. Shelby found out about it and he bought them before I knew they were there. That would have been a find, you know.
Yeah, they have some big ones and stuff.
Right. I don't know how big they were because he didn't stop the engines.
Huh.
But he stopped in a couple of times.
Wow. Yeah, those hit and miss engines are a whole different deal. They're pretty cool.
You know, I get it. People come in here and I think I know them, but I don't know them. But it's been too many years. I had some guys come in here the other day, brothers, about a month apart. One of them says, "Don't you recognize me?" He says, "I known you since you was this size." I said, "Yeah, this size. Would I remember?" And I said, "No." And I was real good friends with him.
Huh. Did you remember him after he told you who he was?
Well, I recognized them, but I didn't recognize names.
Oh, okay.
When I found out they were the Hindis, then I knew who they was.
Okay.
They lived away from Vaughn,
Okay.
about 15 miles.
Huh.
And one was 92 and one was 94. And somebody sent me word the other day that both of them died, passed away.
Oh.
They had
Dang.
grocery stores in Duran, and it was a little town. I don't know if you've ever been through Duran or not.
I think I have.
You would be if you're going to Carrizosa from Vaughn.
Okay. Yeah, I have then.
A little old town that was there had 2 stores.
Okay. Yeah, it doesn't. I know I've been through it, but because I remember the name.
You know,
but
I was
don't
looking at
remember.
a magazine kind of like that one I showed you.
Right.
And I read, I was flipping the page, and here it says a guy that I knew when I was a kid. He owned a store there in Encino.
Okay.
He had a Model T that was brand new. He was a Ford dealership.
Okay.
And it had a story about that Model T there, and I tried to buy that when I was a kid. I thought, boy, that's kind of unusual. Show up in a magazine, a Model T that I tried to buy. Couldn't believe that, you know.
Yeah. And it was still running.
I don't know. I think he sold his ranch, and the guy that got the Model T, he wouldn't sell it to me. He wanted too much money. Then he got a divorce. Then I got a letter one day from his wife wanting to sell it to me, but she had raised the price till it wasn't worth it.
Oh. That makes it kind of rough.
But that was in 1960. She wrote me a letter telling me she'd sell me the Model T. At that time, she lived at Conscious Lake.
It's really weird to think that 1960 was 60 years ago, isn't it?
Right. I forget it. Well, there's so much of our age difference. I'll say, well, do you remember when the war was going? I went born. But I was during the war, and I remember.
Right.
I remember when the war was over. I was downtown Phoenix.
You're talking World War II?
Yes.
Okay.
It was quite a celebration went on when everybody was out in the streets and hugging each other, and it was quite a commotion when the war was over.
Huh. Wow.
Do you know, I can remember we couldn't get ice cream, we couldn't get chocolate candy, nothing like that when I was a kid.
Really?
To get gasoline, you had to have a stamp. To get groceries, you had to have a stamp. It was a mess.
Sounds like it.
People don't know that, you know, because they're not old enough to.
Well, I've been to a few museums where they have the old war ration tickets
Really?
and some of that, yeah.
Yeah, I got some C ration and some K rations. I found the other day I don't know where I was at, but I found 3 gas masks. It's 1901.
Really?
They're real different than the World War II ones.
Yeah.
I was looking for them the other day and I couldn't find them. They're here somewhere.
I was going to say, you don't have much to look through. You should be able
You know,
to just...
I got trouble with people stealing stuff.
Really?
Yes. The other day I was talking to a guy. I wished I could get a hold of him. I'd pop his head off. I had a hammerhead.
Okay.
Ancient, you know, with the groove around it.
Uh-huh.
It was made out of a rock. And he was talking about antiques. I brought it out here and showed it to him. And I left it on that table, and somebody interrupted me, and I forgot about it. And the codpicker stole it.
Shh.
I mean, it was worth a lot of money. Well, I don't know but it's antique.
It doesn't matter. It's yours.
It was 2,000 years old.
Yeah.
If I could get a hold of him more.
It seems like that happens. I was talking about that guy over there in Cloud Museum, and he says
Right.
is he's had people take his radiator cap hood ornaments
Right.
and pocket them. He said he lost 3 of them in one day.
I don't have a car out there with a gas cap. Those caps, if you find one, are $50 or $60.
And so you take them off?
I don't take them off. They took them
Oh,
off.
people steal them from you.
Didn't take them off because I didn't want water in the tank.
Right.
But
So-
they're gone now.
So how many of your 800 cars run?
Oh, I would say probably 20 or 25.
Not a lot of them then.
No, once they said it, I bet you in here. There ain't very many would run in here because they've been sitting, and I had that alcohol gas in it, and they'd eat up the tank.
Right. Yeah.
Ruins the motor.
Yeah. That the new gas is not good for it, and it doesn't last more than about a year and a half.
No, turns solid.
Yeah. Wear things up.
No, I used to be kind of a politician back in my young days.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I used to be a politician. I found out it's so corrupt, I quit it.
That hasn't gotten any better.
It's worse now.
Yeah. So.
I was trying to think who else, what other famous people I met over the years. Can't think of any. My brain going blank.
Well.
But I've met a lot of people. And it's because I fool with old cars, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of interest in the old cars.
But used to be, it's kind of slowed down now.
Well, I don't know if there's a couple of reasons for that. One of them is that the normal person can't really get into the old cars.
Well, not only that, they
It's-
went to later model cars.
Yes,
You don't notice them that much, you know.
right. But the expense, when you look at some of these cars at auction, like
Right.
that are going across the auction block, it's prohibitive to get into
Right.
this hobby, which is really too bad. You know, some of those old Dodge Road Runners and Chargers and that kind of stuff, if they're in trash condition, are worth $6,000-7,000,
Right.
and then you got to put another $30,000 in them or $40,000 in order to bring them up to where they're worth looking at.
Well, it changes with the age of the kids.
Right,
There for a while, Road Runners was popular.
right.
I think they've kind of died down.
I don't know.
Anything with a big motor in it was popular.
Right, all the muscle cars.
Right.
Yeah.
In the 60s.
Well, yeah. And in the 50s, they were putting big motors in the old Model Ts.
Right. That's the way I got a lot of my stuff, was buying stuff from hot rodders, like motors and transmissions and rear ends.
Uh-huh.
I'd get them from them because they always put bigger stuff in it.
Right.
And it's loaded out there, but the weeds has got it all hid. You can't see it. I mean, I had a weed thing to this year. They're still out there because I can't pull them.
Right.
My son is busy, he can't pull them. I try to hire somebody to pull them. They won't show up.
Makes it rough.
I want I'm afraid of fire, you know, fire hazard.
Well, you start a fire out there and you start burning up your cars.
Yeah.
Don't want to do that.
I mean, them weeds are as tall as me. And you can't see the cars because it grew around them. You can see some of them. Some of them I had the weeds cut
Right.
till I got where I couldn't get around. It hit me all at once. And I was just weak as a, can't walk, can't do this, and can't do that. They make me want to use that cane. I said, I'm not old. And then walk her over, wherever it is. I said, I'm not old yet. You're you're trying to force me into something I don't want.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Archie, I think I'm going to go ahead and shut this down. I'm going to take a walk around the outside and look at the other 800 cars. I sure appreciate you having taken your time and talking with me.
Right.
And I always finish out my podcast by saying the world is full of wonder. People need to get out and explore and talk to some people like Archie that has all of this knowledge about so many things. This has been a really fun podcast just because Archie's been so much fun to talk to. And everybody have an absolutely wonder-filled day.
All the roll and go, where am I to go? Meet Johnny, where am I to go? For I'm a young and a sailor lad, and where am I to go?